Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this postmortem of my Blitz game number 568. This was a dual commentary game that I played against Devin of Devin Chess, so I'll include a link to his live commentary on the game. It's pretty interesting. So in this game I start off with d4, he played d5, and I go c4, the Queen's Gambit, and he goes e6, Queen's Gambit declined, so a very solid system. Continue with knight c3, putting a little more pressure on the center, and he defends with c6, which is the second choice there. Top choice is developing with knight f6, and there's also bishop e7. But c6, a very solid way to play. And now we're in the Semi-Slav, because with both c6 and e6 being played, that's the Semi-Slav. And it can be reached at either move order. You can play either the e-pawn or the c-pawn first, but at this point it's all the same. So I could have continued with knight f3. That's one of the main moves, but I like to play e3, and you see that's also a top choice, just defending the c-pawn. He goes knight f6, and I go knight f3. So all very normal development, knight bd7. And now white has a choice here. I play bishop d3, which allows the Moran variation, and that's what we end up playing. The anti-Moran system is queen c2. You just basically delay that bishop to d3 move, because as soon as you move this bishop, black is going to take the pawn. And nowadays, I think actually the queen c2 move is a little more popular. The Moran variation was played quite a bit in the latter part of the 20th century, and I think it's amongst grandmasters, the feeling is it's a little bit played out, and white has gone elsewhere to search for an advantage. It seems like white gets good positions out of the Moran, but black always has enough activity, and so it's pretty balanced. Okay, but I like the Moran for both sides. I play it with black and with white, and we'll see why in a little bit. He takes, and so that is the Moran variation. The idea is to play b5 and kick this bishop back, and black has gained a little space on the queen side and maybe a little tempo against the bishop, but he's got to play actively. Black needs to get in this move c5, get the bishop on the long diagonal, and he will have a good game with activity for his pieces, but it's important to play actively. He goes bishop b7 here, which is one of the top choices. The other way to play, which is how I often play, is to play a6 immediately, defending the b5 pawn so that c5 is possible. He goes bishop b7, and I go e4. I could have castled there too. I guess it's the other line. After a6, you want to play e4 immediately, because c5 is coming, and you want to be prepared to meet that with either d5 or e5. d5 or e5. So I go a4 here, e4 here. I could have castled, is the point. And now he goes a6. So the main line in the Moran is actually b4. That's the other way of dealing with this b pawn. He can't play c5 immediately, which he would like to do, because this b pawn is hanging. So he can defend it with a6, or he can push it forward and gain a tempo on this knight. So just to show you the main line, it kicks the knight out of the way, and then c5 is possible here. And then after e5, knight d5, we have this kind of interesting position. Let's see. White can try and grab a pawn here, but either he doesn't get to keep it, or black gets some kind of compensation. Anyway, the main move here is really just to castle. And we get this kind of complicated but active position for both sides, which is interesting to play. So that's why I like the Moran for either side, for black and for white. So let's go back to the game. In the game, he played a6. And that defends this b pawn, so now he's prepared to play c5. And I did go for play against the knight. But right here is a move I should have thought about, the e5 move here. And I want to illustrate it. This move e5 is a possible move for white at several points before I finally play it. And it would have been a good move at various points in the game. So let me show you the main idea here, which is I can push on with e5. And in this particular position, his queen's view of that square is blocked by the knight. So I can chop off that knight, and he has to take back with a pawn. Looks like the c-pawn is better. But either way, those pawns will block in the bishop on b7, and so black will have to waste sub-moves trying to get that bishop into the game. And in the meantime, white can very quickly line up for a kingside attack here. So bishop on c2, queen on d3, maybe even push the h-pawn forward if you want to forego castling, or knight hop into g5. It's all set up for a kingside attack here. And so that gets going pretty quickly, and if you can catch black with this bishop out of play, it may be maybe a good game for white here. So that would have been the best way for me to play. So anyway, I didn't think about playing that move here, or I discounted the idea. I thought I would go for the pin, and he naturally unpins. There is this highly tactical line starting with c5 and leaving the pin there for a move, which is maybe about equal, but it's really complicated. So just to show it, c5. Yeah, we should be on the notation tab here. I push on with e5, trying to take advantage of that pin, and now he can either take this pawn, which hits my knight, or he can kick my bishop with h6. Probably h6 is the better move here. And we get this kind of crazy position with pieces hanging all over the board. Anyway, who knows how that would really turn out in practice. Difficult to assess, although the engine thinks black is a little better there. Anyway, Devon very naturally played bishop e7, just unpitting. Once again, I can play e5 for that advantage, but I ignore that and castle and play a3. And the idea with a3 is to get the move b4 in, and if I get that, I clamp down on his c-pawn and keep this bishop out of play once again. So that's would be good for white. And he does something radical against this. Probably c5. Yeah, c5 is a good time to play c5 right here. There's no pin in effect because the bishop is supported by the queen. So after c5, e5, he can just move the knight away, no problem. So that's the way to play this. Anyway, he played b4, which is a bit of a mistake. I think he was intending, based on his live commentary, I think he was intending to take back with the bishop, and then realized here, or shortly after he played it, as often happens, that that would allow me to take advantage of the pin here, and that would be pretty uncomfortable. So I am a pawn up at this moment, although I didn't think it was worth much. If you listen to my live commentary, I really was not planning to hold on to that pawn. But it turns out that I can, and actually keep an edge. And I do keep an edge for a while. So first he kicks my bishop, and drop back here, keeping on the pin. And now he goes rook e8. He's defending his bishop, so his queen is free to come out to the queen side. I bring my queen out here. I wasn't doing it to defend the pawn so much as to try and get some pressure on the c-pawn and maybe look at his pieces over here. He goes queen b6, developing his queen, defending his pawns, and attacking some of mine. And right now e5. Right now I do play e5, and this would be a good move. Here I can go ahead and throw in. I go ahead and exchange here, and he takes back with the rook. So even here it would still be a good move for me to take that knight, and it has the added bonus that I actually get to keep the b pawn in that case, because he's attacking it. I've gotten rid of the bishop, which was attacking it. The knight's attacking it, and the queen's attacking it. Getting rid of the knight means I can hold on to it. And also his bishop stays imprisoned behind the wall of pawns. So anyway, this is an idea I was completely missing the whole game, and now I start to suffer for it. I play knight e4, which is another idea, but it's just not as good in this particular case. But, you know, to hop in on these dark squares, that's often a good piece here, and it can help with a kingside attack. But it doesn't go well with this placement of my queen here. And I'm also just giving back this pawn. Like I said, I wasn't concerned about that during the game because I never expected to hold on to that pawn, but it turns out I could have and should have. Anyway, so right now it's a bit tricky, and so I've made that mistake, and the game is back in even territory, and I have to be careful at this point, or the tide will turn in the other direction, and it does after I play bishop c4. This knight is loose here, and I need to play a move like bishop e2, kind of shore up my king side a little bit against the bishop. This diagonal was going to open very quickly, as we see in the game. So I play bishop c4, and he just plays c5, getting in this desirable move with the tempo because it's hitting my loose bishop, my loose knight on e4 here. So I played knight d6, and now his best move here is actually to take the knight, and that would give him the strongest advantage. That was why bishop e2 was a better move than bishop c4. because that would prevent the pawn damage to my king side here. Instead, he just took the pawn here, and we get into a sequence of moves that I thought was going to work out, but I missed one point here. So I took his bishop. He takes back, and then I took the pawn here. If I was a little slower about grabbing that pawn, if I played rook to d1 and then grabbed the pawn, or maybe just grab it with another piece. The point I was missing was that this knight is defending the e-pawn. So when I grab over here, trying to equalize material, he grabs this pawn and stays a pawn up. And so right here, playing the rook to d1 is rather than trying to grab that pawn right away and holding on to the e-pawn, looks like a good way to play. So roughly equal. So it gets worse for, let's go forward. After knight takes d4, he grabs this pawn, and now it's black is better. Black is winning from here on out till the very end. So, or just before the very end, I should say. So let's see. He's hitting my bishop. I drop it back to e2, and that gives him time to bring his rook over. He decides to defend his rook. Maybe he wants to move his queen forward and doesn't want it coming under sudden attack. And I grab a pawn here. But this doesn't win material because after I take back, I lose the b-pawn. So black stays a pawn up and has the advantage. But this is a difficult position to win because it's 4 pawns against 3 all on one side of the board. And a move like knight c6, which actually I wanted to play at first because I was thinking it might discoordinate his rooks a little bit, give me some chances. And then I saw that my knight was under attack there, and I tried to move it somewhere else. I was just nervous at this point, so that was kind of a nervous move when I played knight to f3. So at this point, with knight c6, let's see, if he takes, cancel that. If he takes, I take. And we get a position with just heavy pieces and 4 pawns against 3 on one side of the board. It's probably heading for a draw. But, it would still be a long game to play. Let's see. Instead, I drop my knight back to f3, which is a terrible move. It's not my second big mistake. He takes it, besides missing all those e5 opportunities. And so now this is just winning for black. The combination of the extra pawn and my weakened king is a winning edge for black. So he pushes on with e5, freeing up space for his rook to come out and join in. Let's see. I chase his queen around a little bit. I do activate both my rooks, so that's good. Chasing the queen around isn't accomplishing anything, but it does put the rooks on open files. And now he's attacking my pawn, so I drop my queen back to d3, which defends this f-pawn, but coincidentally is looking along this nice diagonal, which turns out to be important later in the game. Anyway, he goes rook e6, cancel that. Rook e6, going to bring the rook over to join in the attack. I go with rook to b7. I'm trying to get some activity on the 7th rank. It goes rook g6 check. And I guess my best move here is to play king h1. Hold on to my pawn. I just am afraid. I think it's dangerous to put your king in the corner like that where it has no squares to run to. It can very quickly get mated, and that h-pawn might be difficult to defend. So I ran to f1 instead, giving up another pawn, but living to fight on. Let's see. I connected my rooks this way. I didn't want to check along here to be picking up a loose rook. He checks immediately. The rook wasn't loose, actually, because it was defended by the queen and also by the king there, but still it frees up my queen to move. Anyway, but he checks me immediately and takes the rook off. So he's just simplifying things, and this is all good. He goes queen to f4, and I play rook to b5, taking a look at this e-pawn. Probably pushing this e-pawn forward, and I think he had this move earlier in the game as well. It's a good way to try and open up lines to my king, and that's probably the best way for black to proceed. But, at this point he makes the game-losing move, so this is the final mistake of the game. Rook to e6. So if you didn't see the game and if you want to find the tactic, take a second, see if you can spot that. Okay, I'm going to give the answer away now. He played rook e6, and I played rook b8 check. Yeah, the king has nowhere to go. So that's just a mate. He can block, he can put it off for one move, but then I take the rook. So a sudden end to the game, but as they say, it's the winner of the game is the person who made the second to last mistake. So anyway, interesting game. It was a little bit back and forth, not entirely one-sided. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and I will see you again soon. Bye.